Okay, everybody, today we're going to continue talking about how to find the volume of spheres and hemispheres. As you're watching this video, know you can pause it anytime you need to in order to check things yourself on your calculators. So let's take a look at this first example here. We are told that the diameter of a men's basketball is about 9.6 inches. Now we know a basketball is in the shape of a sphere, and so I'm just going to go ahead here and draw a sphere. You wouldn't need to draw the sphere, and as you can see, I'm drawing it, but I'm not drawing it very neatly. It has a diameter of 9.6 inches. Now that diameter means it goes all the way across the sphere, okay? So this measurement here is 9.6 inches. Come on now. There we go. What is the volume of this basketball? You can see I do have the formula written up here. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. It's going to be very important that you enter these on your calculator as I'm going through this example so you can be sure you're using your calculator correctly. Okay, so let's see what we need here. We need to know pi. We're going to round our answer to the nearest tenth. So we'll use 3.14 for pi. I'll write that down right now. Pi equals 3.14. That's what we always want to use for pi, unless we're told to use something else. The other thing I notice I need is the radius. And we are given the diameter in this one. See, it says here the diameter is 9.6 inches. If the diameter is 9.6 inches, to find the radius, we need to divide that measurement by 2. And you can use your calculator for that, and it is 4.8 inches. So now I have everything I need here. I'll go back to my formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So I'm going to recopy that, but now I'm going to fill in the information here. Volume equals 5/3 times pi, which we know is 3.14, times the radius, which we found to be 4.8 cubed. All right, so now how do we do this using our calculators? Well, the first thing I would do is focus right in on this part here. 3.14 times 4.8 cubed. Now, using those Texas Instruments calculators, what you want to do is enter 3.14, and you need to do the same thing that I am doing here. Do it right now, times 4.8. And then above the x squared button is another button that is the up cursor button. Looks like this. And you want that to the third power. So you put a 3 in there. And it cloned this for me. I don't want a copy of this. And when you solve all of that, you end up with about 347.25888. Okay, so you can hit the enter button here. If you remember, you could also use that other button over here and just choose the right arrow, and that'll work great too. Okay. But we do have one more step now that we have to do. How do we find 4/3 of this? So what you need to do is take this value, multiply it by the top number. So we're going to multiply by the 4, and then we'll divide by 3. So you can try that right now. Take 347.25888 times 4, and then divide that by 3. And when you're all done, you should get 463. I'm sorry, this is so messy. Let me try that again. 0.01184. Again, you can pause this video at any time just to check to see how I got that answer. Now it does say to round to the nearest tenth, which is one place past the decimal point. So I have 463.0. The next digit is a 1, which means we do not round that up. We leave it at 0. We do need to show the 0 though, because that shows us that we did round this to the nearest tenth. So we get 463.0 for our volume, and our label is cubic inches. Okay, so that's how we found the diameter of that basketball. All right, I'm going to look at the next example and see if I can do this and be a little bit more neat with my work. Example 3, turn to that right away in your packets or in your books. A training volleyball has a diameter of 10 inches. Once again, we're given the diameter here. I'm going to write that down here. D equals 10 inches. A pump can inflate the ball at a rate of 325 cubic inches per minute. How long will it take to inflate the ball? So the first thing I'm going to need to do is find the volume of the ball. How much air is it going to take to fill up that volleyball all the way? And so I use my formula for spheres. Volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Now again, we're given the diameter here. So how do I find the radius? Hopefully you know that you need to divide the diameter by 2. 10 inches divided by 2 is 5 inches. So our radius is 5 inches. And again, for pi, we're going to use 3.14. All right, so let's plug these values in and solve this. So we have 4/3 times pi, 3.14, times the radius, which is 5 inches, cubed. All right, so go ahead and solve this with your calculators. You can pause the video here for a little bit if you need to do that and take a little bit of time to solve this. All right, if you have solved this correctly, 4/3 times, if you just focus on this part right here, 3.14 times 5 cubed, and do that on your calculators, that right there is 500, well, let's see, I got to get this right. Well, I don't have it exactly, but let's just do the whole thing here. Find this value here, then take it times 4, and then divide that by 3. And what you get here is, actually this part here alone I do know is 392.5. All right, then if we multiply that by 4/3, take it the next step. So you take this value here, you multiply by 4, and then you divide that by 3. You should get 523.3 repeating. The 3 will repeat. Okay, again, pause this video if you need to and do the work on your calculator, see if you get that same result. Okay, and this is our volume in cubic inches. All right, now we don't want the volume though. We want to know how long it will take to inflate the ball. Well, it says here it can be inflated at a rate of 325 cubic inches per minute. This is more than 325 cubic inches, so it will take more than 1 minute. How long will it take? Well, we will have to take that 523.3 repeating and divide it by 325. See how many times that goes in to 523.3 repeating. And we get 1.6 and a bunch of other numbers. Okay, 1.61025, and it continues on after that. So if I'm just going to go ahead and round this to the nearest tenth of a minute. So it's going to take about 1.6 minutes. All right, that will be the answer for this one. It'll take 1.6 minutes. By the way, 6/10 of a minute is about 36 seconds. So you could even say 1 minute 36 seconds. And that might be a better way to say the answer. Either way is fine. Okay, 1 minute 36 seconds. There, I got it on the screen. So 1.6 minutes, that's the answer we're looking for. If you do go the extra step and write 1 minute 36 seconds, well, that's even better. All right, now, let's look at this example, example 4. Find the volume of the hemisphere. This time it's not an entire sphere, it's just half of a sphere. And so to find the volume of a sphere, we take volume equals 4/3 times pi r cubed. That's for a sphere. If you only want half of that for a hemisphere, then what you can do is take the volume equals, take half of this. Instead of 4/3, use 2/3. And then take that times pi r cubed. And that'll give you half of the sphere. Okay, and then it says round your answer to the nearest tenth. So this right here is the formula I want to use. Volume equals 2/3 times pi r cubed. Now we are given the radius here. The radius is 5. For pi, we will use 3.14. So let's fill in our numbers. Volume equals 2/3 times pi, 3.14, times the radius, 5, cubed. Okay? So now grab your calculators. Start here with this part right here. Take 3.14 times 5. Then you want to enter that up cursor, which is again right above the x squared button, and then 3. 3.14 times 5 to the third power. Then on these calculators, remember you have that button up toward the top, that blue oval shaped button with the arrows pointing in each direction. You want to arrow to the right, and that'll bring your cursor so it's flashing down where the base should be. Okay, and since I want 2/3 of this, I then need to multiply by 2. Come on. Yeah, here we go. Multiply by 2, and then divide by 3. Because you always multiply by the top number and then divide by the bottom number in your fraction. And then you can click enter and see what you get for an answer. Pause the video, give it a try, see what you get for an answer. All right, if you did everything correctly, you should have gotten 261.6 repeating for an answer. We're going to round this to the nearest tenth, though. So we'll write 261 point, oops, I'll write it up here and write it a little bit neater. 261.7, that would be the answer to the nearest tenth. And my label, since we're working with centimeters, and its volume, we want cubic centimeters. There it is, 261.7 cubic centimeters. All right, we have just enough time to do one more example. Find the volume of a hemisphere. Round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to write my formula down for the volume of a hemisphere. Again, hemisphere is half of a sphere. We can see that in the picture. So we're going to use 2/3 instead of 4/3 times pi r cubed. All right, next I know for pi, we're going to round to the nearest tenth when we get our answer. I can see for pi, we always put in 3.14 for pi. But what is our r value, or our radius? In this picture, what's shown here is the diameter. It's going all the way across this circle. So if 16 inches is the diameter, the radius would be half of that, which is 8 inches. So we're going to put that in for r. So let's go ahead and plug everything in. Volume equals 2/3 times pi, 3.14, times r, which is 8, cubed. All right, you can go ahead and pause this video and give it a try on your calculators and see what you get. All right, let's see if you got the same answer I found. Volume is 2/3 times, I would do this part next, 3.14 times 8 to the third, which comes out to 1,607.68. Now to find 2/3 of that, you're going to take this number times the 2 and then divide by the 3. So multiply by 2 and then take that result, divide that by 3. And your final answer then should be 1,071.78666. It looks like the 6 are just repeating after that. To the nearest tenth then, we get 1,000.